Test one. Ooh. It turned out there was no fault of the aircraft. How funny. Well, good morning. Here we are. I'm really glad to be here this morning. Hope you are. I'm just back Saturday from a retreat at Brighton Bush Hot Springs. And who was there? There's at least I saw. There's one. And I realized something, that I'm always quite different here than I am on retreat. I get kind of sedate here and teach in a different way. And so I decided that today I'm going to be more like I am on retreat. And you'll notice what I mean by that when we do our Dharma talk, which is going to be much more experiential than usual. So, who's here? My goodness, it's a bumper crop. You know, if you wished, you could go up into the choir loft. Watch your head. It's a very low door, even for me. So who's here for the first time? Raise your hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, welcome. Yay. Are you going to go upstairs? Oh, good. Hope there's enough chairs. Are there some chairs up there, Patricia? Wow, more people coming in. I think it's pre-election jitters. I better get my meditation together. Who knows what's coming down the pipe? So, to those of you that are here for the first time, I hope this turns out to be not only helpful, but life-transforming. And that you discover this is a place that can really help you, and where you can chip in and participate. So, refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Buddha is not so far away. It's not some dead guy from 2,500 years ago. It's that capacity of awakeness, which is here all the time. We just have to remembering to remember. And there's more space up in the choir loft if you wanted to go up there. Refuge in the Dharma, the way things actually are. What do you discover when you're meditating? And refuge in the Sangha, which is the descending, the community of practice, human beings who've awakened, and also this gathering. In fact, before we do the refuge, let's do this. If you want to stay sitting in silence, that's fine. But otherwise, please turn to your neighbor, tell them your name and one thing for which you're grateful. Just a little moment of hello and breaking the ice. I haven't seen any of them, but...
Oh, it's pretty strange out there.
Want to ring the gong?
Okay.
Hi. Give those meditators a second to talk, and it's just wild, isn't it? I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. And again, I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. I see it now, the PIMC Tabernacle Choir on world tour. Well, let's sit and do next to nothing for a while. Find a comfortable upright posture that isn't torturing you. If you're struggling with sitting cross-legged, please find a chair. A little hard in this room, but it's amazing. I meet people who've been meditating for a decade or two and they're still struggling to be comfortable. So we sit and we notice that there's a body. How do you know there's a body? You can feel it. It's life. You can notice where your body touches the floor or the cushion. You can notice the life in your hands. You can notice that it breathes. And this breathing isn't incidental. It is our intimate connectivity with life. We tend to think there's a person and environment, but actually they're one living process. And there's this mystery of awareness or attention. You could be aware of a sound that sounds a lot like a barking dog. Now, if we thought we had to have silence to meditate, that dog can be a real problem. But as it is, it's really just a sound. Comes into being and disappears. And the breath, similarly. The sensations of breathing in the chest and abdomen or at the nostrils comes into being, disappears. The human mind being what it is, how it is, of course, it's kind of challenging to stay with the breath. And so we observe how the mind wanders, goes off into various trance states. And then waking up happens. Mindfulness springs into being. And then there's some sense of choice, what to do. I think I'll come back to the breath. No violence. In a circumstance like this with the dog outside, or we think it's a dog, it's probably not a recording of a dog. You might just take that as your training object for a while, till it disappears. And then there's a body sitting. Sitting, breathing in and breathing out. And in this attending to breathing, it really is the practice of intimacy, of closeness. We can observe breathing at a very superficial level, or we can become remarkably intimate with each breath. As it emerges out of no-thingness, rises to fullness, declines, disappears. Please don't have a war with yourself. We have plenty of war in the world. From the very start, these teachings are based in ahimsa, which is non-violence. No violence toward oneself, no violence toward others. Cultivating mindfulness, sati, awareness, which is of extraordinary power. Let it notice the wandering mind. See what happens. See how powerless those wandering mind trances are in the face of true awareness. They may come back, they may be persistent. But when they're noticed, they're like shadows in sunrise. Come home to the breathing body, awakening to the wanderings and returning. By bringing awareness to the body now, the past and future actually cease to exist in our experience. There's just now. What a relief. Seeing how intimate you can become with this that is your life experience. What if it's irrelevant to become something else, but crucial to be that which you are right now? there is a certain effort required simply to stay sitting here sometimes. In the face of the suffering from which we have been running with our activities, our intoxicants, our obsessions, our entertainments, when we stop, what we encounter can be not so pretty, not so pleasant. Ajahn Chah, one of the great Thai forest masters of the last century, said that there's ordinary suffering, which is the suffering that goes on and on and on endlessly. And there's the suffering that leads to the end of suffering, which occurs consciously. It's quite a step when that begins happening in our lives. Whether it begins with stress management or meditation for psychological and emotional well-being, it eventually leads to the most profound exploration of the human experience. Who am I? What's happening here? How does it happen that the mind wanders? Who's in charge? And on the way, we have this wonderful friend, this breathing in and breathing out. It's possible or probable that discomfort will arise. Our mammalian conditioning says move. But we are aspiring to being humans, not subject to every whim of the body or mind. So if there's discomfort, perhaps put aside the breath for a few moments and take in the discomfort. Experience it wholeheartedly, whole mindfully. See it for what it is, body sensations, not personal particularly. If it gets to be too much, then mindfully move. And always there's this delightful old friend of a lifetime, breathing in and breathing out. if you can, please notice the mystery of this that is aware. How does it spring into being? How remarkable that it vanishes when we're lost in the wandering mind. In breathing in, notice that you never can be aware of a whole breath. There's the start and then rising to fullness. And at that moment when breathing out begins, where has breathing in gone? It's vanished. Please notice the mood which colors consciousness right now. Pleasant, unpleasant, happy, sad, confident, doubting. Just as it is. Notice how the body is. Where is there pain? Where is there pleasure? Notice how it breathes. Please notice now the contact your body makes with the floor, cushion. The life in your hands, fingers, arms. The life in your face. And notice that there's sensation in that place where others would see your eyes. And notice with intention you can move your eyes in these sockets, these orbits. And then with intention, notice how it is to plan and then to allow your eyelids to peel up. Allowing isn't quite right, it takes some effort. Notice how seeing starts. Seeing. Is there a you who sees, or was the Buddha correct in the seen, only the seeing, no seer is to be found? Seeing. Well, let's do that little revelatory experiment. Please raise your hand if you feel more sane than when you walked in. Look around. That's pretty weird. Sitting here, doing nothing, being aware, and the central nervous system calms down, anguish sometimes gets bigger, but often we go into it and it passes. So, in just a moment, I'm going to ask Jim to do a little qigong. But I know that some of you will leave now, and I want to give you a message, which is please vote. It's important. It's not a lot that we have, but we do have that. Too late to mail. I got to my local library at 8 and 30 seconds 3 elections ago. No vote. They wouldn't let me put it in. Too late. Gotta have a rule. At the back of the room, some of you might not know this, there are devices for the hearing impaired. And they really are good ones. So many of them that we run into in the world are really crappy, but these are good. So if you're struggling at all to hear, then I invite you to use them. And I'll do this other piece, which is my part now, before I come back. This little iPad is happy to receive your credit cards. It gets joyful when it gets them. And it's part of how we ask for your support, the practice of Dharma or generosity. There's also my monk's bowl from Burma 30, 40 years ago. And PIMC is an organization directed to the elimination of human suffering. And lots of people have come in here already and walked out changed. And then the ripple effect goes out from that. So it's a major social force that happens here, not to mention the individual relief of suffering. So I invite you to participate in the stewardship circle, which is anyone who makes a monthly payment, which you can do online. And what's the date of the stewardship retreat? December 8th. December 8th, there's a retreat here for anyone who is a member of that, and it can be any amount. So, generosity. Three-legged stool of spiritual life. Generosity, moral and ethical behavior, and training the mind. So find ways, aside from this, find ways to be generous every day. This will move back to the Dana bowl, and I will move out of the microphone. Jim Dalton. Ho Chi Huynh Da. From Vietnam this time.
All those incarnations.
Right. It's a lot, isn't it?
So we always, excuse me, we always begin with our feet and getting grounded. So we don't stand on the earth, we arise out of the earth. And it's like, boy, what's going on? I'm going to steal the teacher's water. So we get in touch with our feet in order to pay attention to the flow of energy from the earth that just never stops. It's continually moving through us. And if we move from side to side, we can activate all sorts of little nerves and muscles that tell us clearly and precisely that there's energy in this form, and it can be ridden in awareness. We ride on the movement with awareness. And we can become very precise about the... I'm sorry about this. We can become very precise about the movement in a circle. We can just put your hands on your hips and go around in a circle clockwise. And it's in honor of daylight savings time. Anyway. But be very precise. Notice when you're hitting 12 o'clock, when you're hitting 3 o'clock, when you're hitting 6, when you're hitting 9. So this awareness miracle can be very precise. You can be there when this arbitrary movement coincides with a clock face in your imagination. And you can go the other way, noticing 12 and then 9. When you hit 9, then you start moving towards 6 and you're there. Then 3. And eventually, you can become so precise that you hit all 12 markers on the face of the clock. The wandering mind slows down and the curiosity takes over. Can I be there? Here, here, here. So the more we play with this, the more precise we become. Relax the arms and sink. And as you sink, how many notches on the clock face are there? As you rise, how many little notches on the clock face? The arms rise, the fingers trail, the wrists seem to lead, and then the heel of the hand seems to lead, and the fingers continue to trail. But the awareness is on the whole arc, up and over and down. How many times do we leave the arc and how much are we there? This time we lift and open, and there's a whole other arc. And there's lots of people at the end of it. Be careful. Your fingers don't belong in anyone else's ear. So with practice, the precision grows because curiosity is there. What's happening now? Where are we in this arc? Lifting overhead, we'll paint a rainbow. Practice our precision drill across the sky. Now we've got 180 degrees. Can you be there for each one? It's easier if you paint a color or several. And then releasing, letting the hands just come to the side, pausing. There's no particular gesture now, but there's still precise awareness. You can be precise in terms of where you place the awareness, the bottoms of the feet, the fingertips, the shoulders, or the whole body. The whole body breathes. All the cells are grateful for new energy each time there's an inhale. And then we sink, cross the wrists, follow this gesture, up the middle, turn the palms and press out to the side and be there with awareness throughout the whole arc. So if we give this a name, like separating clouds, we can remember it tomorrow morning when we want to practice again. Coming to vertical again and turning. We lift one palm up, then lift the other one behind us. Push the one behind forward, bring the other one in. So push and pull is a little phrase we can remember. But how precise can we be? Does the right hand know what the left hand is doing? I think it does. It's not me. It's the hands that know. And again, dropping the arms will become very precise about sensations in the socket and the shoulder. Turning a circle, can you be there for the whole 360 degrees? If we keep up like this, we'll be here till 1 o'clock. Okay, let's lift. Did I do that? Did I get lost? Or maybe Robert got lost. I don't know. Maybe both of us got lost. But you can move faster and still keep that precision drill going on very subtly. It's not important what the object is or what the speed is. It's awareness in touch with gazing at the moon. And moving on to reaching out to the corner. Open palm, soft fingers, soft shoulders, soft wrists. Awareness of an interesting combination of sensations. Then reaching across, like we're looking into a mirror, and then the other hand towards the earth, come across to the midline, and then keep going. Be there for the whole arc, and then watch. One hand approaches the other and passes in the night, and moves across. But they don't hit each other, because they know where the other one is. There's awareness everywhere. This time, don't be aware of anything. Tricky, isn't it? Doesn't work. All right, let's let the arms relax. And we'll do, that's half of Shibashi. We'll do the other half some other time. This is another way of finishing. We'll just sink and sort of separate the clouds, but some teachers call this the peacock's feathers, opening the feathers. And then taking a shower with the chi. Open and draw the shower down through the whole nervous system. From the crown, through the neck, through the shoulders, spine, legs, floor. And once more. bring the hands together in gratitude. We're here together again to practice. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Sangha. If you don't know who I am, my name is Avi. I'm community coordinator here, and I'm about to conduct the very ancient mystical ritual of announcements. There is a lot here. We've got a lot going on, and I'm going to run through it rather quick. Some of it is on the website, and more of it will be on the website this week. We also have hand flyers that are out there. Feel free to take a flyer, and if you feel so moved, make a few copies and see about posting them in local venues around town so that we can make people in the community more aware of our events. So on Saturday, November 10th, we've got a special day-long retreat with Robert and Gary about healing the wounds caused by repressive religions, religious organizations called Spiritual Liberty or Religious Tyranny. There are details on the website. On Sunday, November 11th, we've got our regular second Sunday potluck. So feel free to bring out all of those secret family recipes that you'd like to inflict on the rest of the Sangha. You know, it's like we know that people are crunched for time, and so people don't have as much time to cook. But if you do have some time, it would really be a wonderful thing. That will be next week. Then on Wednesday, November 14th, in the evening, we've got the November edition of our NVC practice group, which is Nonviolent Communication. Kirsten, are you here? Kirsten Smith is our volunteer coordinator, and apparently she is not here, but she also helps moderate that class. If you have any experience with nonviolent communication and you would like to practice your skills at talking giraffe, and for those of you who don't know NVC, it is a thing, then that will be Wednesday evening, November 14th, and details are on the website. Saturday, November 17th, we have our November edition of Buddhist Movie Night at PIMC. Details are on the website. The showing this week is a wonderful documentary called Amongst White Clouds about Chinese Zen recluses up in the mountains. On the evening of Saturday, November 17th, or pardon me, on the afternoon of Saturday, November 17th, we've got Jim's half-day Qigong retreats. If you liked what he was doing for 20 minutes, you'll love what he does for 4 hours. Then on Saturday and Sunday, November 17th through the 18th, Robert is doing his Seattle retreat. You can find out details about how to register for that on the website. If you want to go there and if you need a place to stay, one of our friends up there, her name is Sandra, is happy to host up to 4 people. So if that is something that you might like to do, please contact me and I'll help you get in touch with her. Then on Saturday, December 1st, we've got our first Saturday day-long retreat at PIMC. They're held on the first Saturday of every month. Then on Saturday, December 1st, in the evening, we've got a really special program. It's part of a national mini film festival of Buddhist films showing compassion in the world. It's called On the Buddhist Path, Compassion in Action. It's a film screening and panel discussion. Details will be on the website this week. Tricia, are you here? Tricia, could you raise your hand so everyone can see you? That is Tricia in the back, and she is helping coordinate this. So if you have questions, please ask her today. Details will be on the website within a couple of days, and there'll be more information there. On Sunday, December 2nd, we have our second meeting of the PIMC Embracing the Dharma initiative, which is about how we are going to coordinate our effort as a Sangha to move our compassion from in here out into the world. Then also on Sunday, December 2nd, we've got another one of our monthly PIMC mindfulness orientations with Robert in the living room. On Saturday, December 8th, We have the Stewardship Circle retreat that Robert was speaking of. If you are not a Stewardship Circle member, it simply means that you're willing to donate on a regular basis, and it doesn't matter how much. If you want to explore doing that so you can attend this retreat, details are on the website and will be on the event. On Sunday, December 9th, we've got our annual, what is rapidly becoming our annual ritual of a children's version play of Scrooge, which is a children's version of Dickens' Christmas Carol, which is a wonderful fable about the value of generosity. That will be here in the afternoon, right after the Dharma talk on December 9th. We need a few volunteers. We need somebody to coordinate gardening come spring. If you feel called to do that, please let me know and I'll put you in touch with Kirsten. Likewise, we need 2 people for housekeeping to help keep this place tidy and welcoming. We also need a couple of people for the live stream camera crew. If you haven't noticed, we've got a camera up there and it is live streaming what we're doing right now, and it also provides audio for people to visit with us after all of this is over. If you wish to engage with this community on a deeper level, you can volunteer, you can give of your time. Please contact me or contact Kirsten Smith on the contact page. We would love to put your abilities and your interests to work in a way that helps take care of this place, but in a way that also allows you to get to know more people here, because I suspect, I don't know why, I just suspect that every single one of us in this room is worth getting to know. I don't know, I just have that feeling. Then we also have a number of other sits during the week that are smaller. There's information on the website. We have spiritual friends groups out in the community, people who discuss the Dharma and who do group sits on their own time. Details are on the website. One of our ongoing projects, the Transitions Project, is right there in that treasure chest. Bring your small household items. These go to the Transitions Project in Northwest Portland, which helps the homeless get back on track. We've been supporting them for a lot of years and they do wonderful work. We also have Dharma consults that are available. Jim, are you available for Dharma consults? So if you have issues that are coming up in your existing seated practice, if you want to get a quick on-ramp to start a practice and you've never started one before, Jim would be happy to see you for about 20 minutes today after the Dharma session, or I can arrange for you to meet with one of the teachers during the week. So if that's something you want, that is something we provide to the community as a way to ease suffering out in the world. So please let me know. And then finally, if you have any questions about accessing this place at a deeper level, any questions about what to do or how to do it, or who's involved, please see me. I'm here in the mornings, Monday through Thursday, and it is my pleasure to help you find ways to work this community into your life and help you further along in your practice. So thank you for your attention very much, and blessings to you.
Tricia, did you want to say anything about that evening? If you do, I'll bring you the mic.
I don't think there's much more I need to say. There's posters outside.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Big event. Big event. We set off into it and we didn't really quite realize how they're going to rent a super duper projector and a big screen. Our screen is inadequate for the video, so it's going to be a nice thing. Well, hi. Fancy meeting you here. Let's try this as a start. Is that coming out up above? No. Oh no, it isn't, of course. Here it is. There it is. Sabe Sankhara anicca, said the Buddha. Sabe Sankhara anicca. All conditioned things are impermanent. It's the whole of the teaching. Realize that and you're a Buddha. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. As I realized some time ago, just in giving talks, you know, there's that story, we have the creation myth. There's the creation myth of Vishnu is lying asleep and a fly lands on his face, and he opens his eyes and the universe comes into being, and then he looks across the sky. Universes proliferate, or galaxies are formed and die, and he gets to the far side and no fly, and closes his eyes and it's all gone. Well, we have the real story, the true story, which is that something happened that no one understands at all, that out of nothing came, out of something smaller than the head of a pin, came everything in our universe. Maximally dense, I think. And then we call it the Big Bang or the Great Flash. It's, they say, 14.2 billion years ago. And then since then there's been constant galaxies forming and collapsing, and planets being formed, no doubt civilizations coming into being and disappearing. And why is it that I, as a personality, and you, as a personality, expect anything to be stable? Right? I thought this, whatever thing, was going to last. Nothing does. Right? Every relationship ends in separation or death. Not a common, we don't like to think that kind of thing, but it's true. Empires. I had a friend who worked with family businesses. Most times when great wealth comes together in a family, it doesn't make it to the third generation. It's almost always falls apart over conflict in the second generation. So, Sabe Sankhara anicca. Please let your eyes close. And become aware of hearing. And notice sound. You could simultaneously be noticing your breath. There's something that's aware, or there is awareness, more accurately. Like the Big Bang or the Great Flash, sounds appear out of nowhere. They don't exist. and then suddenly they exist. That's fine. Situations with parents and children arise unexpectedly. Do they ever? I just remembered my son being 4 months old, and he started making this sound, and my mother-in-law, who lived with us, came by and said, "Croup, let's head for the bathroom and put on the shower." Who knew? Let's do a couple more guitar sounds. Sitting. There's silence. There's not presence, but there's this voice coming, stopping. Music exists because of anicca, or it's dependent upon anicca. If one note lasted, there'd be no beauty. So the eyes are closed, there's no seeing, and then with an intention to open them, letting that happen slowly, and seeing begins. Sabre Sankhara anicca. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. Hearing. Achan Buddha Dasa, another one of the great masters of the last century in Thailand, said that impermanence is so prevalent that it shines at us with the brilliance of 1,000,000 suns. It's a miracle we don't see it. And part of how we don't see it is that we stay in trance. We don't realize that we're not present because there's between that which knows and the present moment are stories from the past, stories of an imagined future, and the emotions that are generated by them. And it's very difficult to actually be right here now. So the whole of the Buddha's meditation training Let me back up a step. Yeah, the whole of the Buddhist meditation training is about developing a consciousness which can actually be here now, inhabit now, and inhabit now in such a radical way that ultimately there isn't any more suffering. That's pretty wild, isn't it? Is that an idiotic claim or a religious frou-frou fantasy, or do you suppose that's really true? And I think of it this way for myself. What if it's true that by taking human birth, think about that. Talk about weird things. Right? A sperm and an egg come together, and DNA does its helix dance, and then they somehow combine, and then it attaches in the optimum spot in the uterus, and then birth happens, and then somebody training begins in earnest. We become somebody, and then we last until we disappear. That's really weird. How many of you remember R.D. Laing? Oh, just a handful. He wrote The Politics of Experience, very interesting psychiatrist. He went and did 6 months of intensive 15, 16-hour-a-day insight meditation in Sri Lanka, and came back, and his first presentation, which was in one of the big halls in Toronto where I was going to graduate school, 2,000, 3,000 people. He did a slideshow of conception and birth, and then talked a little bit about what he learned in meditation. But that was the image that he wasn't saying like I am, it's so weird. But think of it. Where were you before that double helix happened? And where will you be when this thing disappears? It's kind of a big question, isn't it? So we rush around not trying to ask that question, but sometimes we're fortunate enough that life kind of kicks us in the forehead and we wind up on a spiritual quest. And then we start finding some answers. So if who am I is the big question, which I think it is, and everything's impermanent, what's my costume? So what if it's true, and I think this is what the mystics say, what if it's true that every single one of us has a severe case of mistaken identity? You know those movies where she is found in the park or he is found on the battlefield, and I don't know who I am. And then the whole movie's about trying to find out, who is this person? What if that's us? Who am I? We were taught, I was going to say brainwashed, we were taught as children, we were taught, your name is this. And since you're a girl, you're not very intelligent. No, that doesn't work anymore. We've discovered that women are intelligent. That took a long time on that one. Since you're born on this side of the border, people on the other side are inhuman. We still do that one lots. We're seeing that in spades these days. Anyway, so we get our parents and our community brainwash us enormously. Oh, I heard the other day, the average American child sees between 12 and 20,000 advertisements a year. And these are all the conditioning that says, if you buy this, you can be happy. If you get this, you can be happy. Talk about a powerful system. So, we go through somebody training, and it gets very rigid. And then we have traumas. And those traumas fix our identity in a certain way, and then there's certain things we can't feel. But what if we wanted to wake up? What if the pain got sufficient that we really got motivated to look? And we find ourselves in therapy, we find ourselves, hopefully, ideally, doing some meditation. And that's when the Buddhist model comes in. Really, it's really very helpful. And I want to do this in real brief, but in a particular way. Many of you will recognize this as the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the 4 pastures of abiding. The word in Pali apparently means gochara, which means pastures. So these are places to abide if we want to figure out, if we want to wake up from our case of mistaken identity. The first one is the body. I'm pretty convinced this is me. When it hurts, it's very personal. I'm hurting. What does the body do? These are all the subsets of these. Well, the body breathes. We can be aware of breathing. We can be aware of breathing with the whole body. Be aware of the entire body while I breathe. The body walks. The body sits. It lies down. It goes to the toilet. It puts its clothes on. It takes the clothes off. It steps into the shower. It does all these things. These are all worthy of observation. I guess the big question is this me? And Sabre, Sankhara, Anicca, is this permanent? Can I find anything in this that's permanent? Second, the body exists in a context, and its sense doors make contact with the eye with visual objects, the ear with auditory objects, and so on. Those contacts are, and this is to check out if it's true, not to believe, the contacts are either pleasant, unpleasant, or not yet decided. So we have valence, pleasant, unpleasant, or don't really know yet. This goes on all day long. Did you have any experience in the last hour that was unpleasant? Did you have any that was pleasant? Do you drink coffee? Why? I know why I drink coffee. I don't like that mopey feeling. I like to feel more alert. It's after all these years, I still haven't gotten it that it results in more mopiness, but that's the way addiction is. So visual objects, auditory objects, scent objects, body sensations, and then objects in the mind. Thoughts, moods. This is observable. This is observable. They're as observable as this is matter, but these mental phenomena of feeling are you can experience them just as clearly. Are my feelings who I am? And Sabre, Sankhara, Anicca. All conditioned things are impermanent. Are all feelings impermanent? And there's another slice, which is Sankhara, mental formations. Our whole personality is a mental formation. When you're sitting in meditation and the mind wanders, those are mental phenomena. There's the past, there's the future, there's all of our imaginations and fantasies and the entire realm of the political world, all the stories that are told, those are all mental formations. Are these experienceable? You bet. When you're worrying, if your personality is one that worries, you can with mindfulness notice worrying, or frightened, or joyful, or put on a piece of music you really love, and then watch as your mind kind of soars, and then notice liking or disliking, And then, oh, I remember I listened to this with so-and-so back, mental formation. Are mental formations me? And are they permanent? So we're kind of running out of room here for where to have a self. Well, there's a final one called phenomena. Oh, this pen is gone. Mental phenomena. And this is a huge category. Things like, for those of you that are familiar, well, the 7 enlightenment factors. Can you experience these? Mindfulness, curiosity about our inner state, energy, persistence, joy, concentration, tranquility, equanimity, these 7. These are all also as directly experienceable as touching this. These are mental phenomena. There's 5, the 5 hindrances: sense, desire, lust, aversion, restlessness, agitation, sloth and torpor, and doubt. Are those directly experienceable? You bet. Very important that we learn to recognize them, because then when we're in meditation, sometimes you can't even find the breath. Very useful to know, so I can't find the breath. Is this because of wanting something or wanting something not? Or am I falling asleep? Or is this restlessness, agitation? Or is this doubt? Then we take that as our meditation object. So we've got 7 enlightenment factors, 5 hindrances, phenomena. Seeing. Let your eyes close. Not seeing. Is seeing directly experienceable? You bet. And the sense, all the other sense stores, they're directly experienceable. Is seeing me? Well, where do I go when my eyes close? Is seeing permanent? Seems not. So, where else are we? What else are we? Now, the religion of my childhood proposed my soul, my eternal soul. Is it experienceable, or is that something one believes? One believes. So here's where it gets exciting to me. If one gets interested in meditation and does the work, devotes the time and energy to learning how to relax and use meditation for the stress management tool that it is, that's a huge step. Right? When we learn how to modulate emotion, which we can do. We can learn so the out of control highs and the out of control downs become much more livable, much more manageable. And then as we sit in meditation, we start noticing our habitual tendencies of psychology, our psychological tendencies, our tendency to be self-critical or self-hating, or other-critical or other-hating, our tendency toward depression, or our tendency toward anxiety, or fear, or inflation, feeling really I'm top of the walk, and then deflation. That all starts showing itself in our meditation. And we start noticing Sabre, Sankhara, Anicca. These psychological and emotional patterns that I think are me seem not to be. Is all well in childland?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah? Good. I find myself, my personality, to be kind of a drag. Have you noticed that about yours? circumstance is perfectly fine, and the mind will find this is the thing wrong with it. It's tedious after a while. So, let's say we've become interested in this inner journey, and then we notice. Retreats are really helpful for this, because we just meditate all the time, and then a pattern starts to emerge, and we notice it. And at first it kind of overwhelms us, and then we get free, and then over time we start noticing it emerging, and then we don't have to go there because it's not so convincing. So let's say the meditation develops to such a point that, at least for periods, the mind stops its restless, agitated, its personality dance, and instead that capacity of observing gets more and more stable and more poignant in a way. And then this is where having the map is so useful. One can then zoom in on one of these and start watching it come out of, just as we were watching the sounds come out of nowhere, watching a thought. That's a nice thing in meditation. You're sitting and it's quiet, and then a thought starts, and then it goes, and then it hooks up with an emotion, and all of this is happening in clear awareness, and then it goes. Actually, I just remembered one early example of this for me was, I was suffering tremendous codependent angst around a breakup with a girlfriend. And I was on retreat, and it was awful for a few days, maybe a week or two. And then I was doing walking meditation, and there's a Chilean jasmine that was here. I loved crossing that once every half hour, walking around the backyard. And as I stepped, as this foot came up, the thought arose, oh no, she's gone and she's with him, and that had been taking me on this horrible downward trip. And it came up, it was so clear, that's a thought. And instead of going, the foot came down and touched, and then there was the next step. That was important. I was like, wow, I don't have to go on every one of those fearful, paranoid. The mind creates all these fantasies around which suffering happens. Similarly, I take a step and, I saw that advertising yesterday. If I could just have that, I'm going to go get on Amazon now. Or, there's desire for another thing. Thank you very much. I'm content right here in the backyard. So, Sabre, Sankhara, Anicca. If we start observing all these phenomena and start noticing they're all empty, do we get disappointed and sad, and does life become a drag? Or do we instead start feeling a lot lighter? It's like, this thing is essentially out of control, as is the world. Fortunately, this is the big leap, it's not who I am. Who am I? What if the mystics are right? That we all have a case of mistaken identity. And that which knows, I take refuge in the Buddha, that which knows isn't that which incarnates. And this truth, I think, is obvious in the very first time we ever sit down to meditate. I sit down, I have this intention, I am going to control my mind and bring it home to the breath, and I fail. That's interesting in itself. How come? It's my mind, isn't it? But then let's say I fail, and then it goes off into wandering and a little emotion and a little craziness here, and then, boink. Awareness comes up. Did I create that awareness? We usually think we do. It's like, oh, I just woke myself up. But that becomes pretty obviously a story. Because what really happens is the mysterious phenomenon of awareness arises spontaneously, and then there's consciousness. And then there's the experience, what we call free will, the subjective experience of free will. And then there's some capacity to not go on the trip. That's so huge, right? I mean, that kind of makes life worth living. So that's a lot of words. Poof. But the practice is so utterly simple. Be here now. Richard Lang, some of you know from the last 2 or 3 years he's coming, I think, the third Saturday of February. We'll get it on the calendar as soon as we confirm with him. I said to him, we were riding in the car, and some of you, this probably isn't worth saying. His whole teaching is, be here. Go headless. Realize there's no one seeing, there's just seeing. And I said to him, and we were riding in the car, and I said, I did a little personal retreat a few weeks ago, and I realized Ram Dass was right. That first book, the whole teaching is in Be Here Now. That's it. And he said in his British way, wordy, wasn't he? Isn't he? He's still alive. So what if, in a way, all we have to do is be in the present? I was driving over this morning with an intention of driving and just being driving. And so there's driving, and there we go. I've got a long straight stretch along Multnomah Boulevard, and it's great. Watching the world rush into me, driving, and then gone. The robot drives very well. It's amazing how well our robots drive. But then, a quarter mile later, or a little bit later, boink! How does that happen? But what the Buddha discovered, and we can test, is that capacity of being present is cultivable. Imagine that. We can actually do something to make that more prevalent. Among the things we do is we wind up, as we encounter our psychological and emotional wounds, is we grieve the grief from our childhood. We grieve some of these losses, of which we've all had so many. We encounter the anger and the sadness and the fear and all that. And the way it puts us into such deep trances. And then those start getting less. And then more of the time we're actually here. Our head gets above the clouds of the personality, or not our head, but our consciousness. And then there's moments of ease. So, let's try this. Just see, what's the time? Oh, good. I'll tell you what I'm going to do so you can decide if you want to play or not. I'm going to put on a piece of Jennifer Barazan's music. Yay, Jennifer. I've been playing her music for years, and I met her last winter sometime. So I have permission from her to play her music. It's fun. I'm going to play this beautiful piece of music, and then I'm going to come and help 2 or 3 of you up. And then I'm going to invite those 2 or 3 to help up 2 or 3 more. And then when we're all up, I'm going to do some walking meditation instructions, some guided walking. And if you want to stay sitting, and you don't have to do this, but don't flee. Just stay sitting. When someone comes to you, if they try to help you up, just put your hand on your heart. And please, if you approach someone who puts their hand on their heart, don't force them to have a cup of tea. There's a really fine little YouTube video called It's about consent and a cup of tea. How many of you have not seen it? It's 3 minutes, created in Britain. It says something like this. If someone's visiting you and you ask them if they'd like a cup of tea and they say, yes, I'd love a cup of tea, then make them a cup of tea. But if when you approach them they say, you know, I've changed my mind, don't make them drink the tea. Or if they happen to have fallen unconscious, don't pour the tea down their throat. You know, it's humorous, but consent. It's, you know, we're just barely out of the caves, us human beings. Really. Really, we're just developing the capacity to be civilized with each other. So, let's try this. We'll do this movement thing and then we'll end in time to make a big circle. So, and why are we doing this? Well, if we're going to be mindful in all activities, maybe we're going to do this. It's the spiraling ball of... Why are you not working? Oh, I know. It might be that. Yes. Sitting. If our intention is to be mindful, let's be mindful in every activity, not just sitting on the cushion.
Jasmine breeze, like incense in my hand. Moon high in a cold black sky illuminates my bed.
And then when you're up, just start walking, aware of every step. Is there anything permanent about this walking? Notice the beginning and end of a step. Of course, you'll run into zafus or avoid zafus and avoid people.
This life can turn you cold. Seems I spend most of my own job
walking.
trying to crack.
It's easy, isn't it? Just be aware of walking.
But if I die tomorrow, may the last words that I know be
Walking.
praising.
When the mind goes wandering into trance, it just wakes up again, doesn't it? So we're not looking for some ecstatic mental state. We're just walking. This is the body. And is the walking pleasant or unpleasant?
Well, some predict the rapture, where we all will leave this place.
Walking and knowing it.
The chosen ones will pack their bags for somewhere out.
And we can observe walking outside of ourselves, steps.
But the holiest words I've ever read.
Watch someone else's feet do this. Is there anything permanent about their walking?
We're praising.
mind wanders off into trance, and it wakes up again. Oh yeah, I'm walking. I'm meant to be aware of walking. And notice, as people pass, they have hands. Notice that you have hands too. Feel your hands from the inside, see them from the outside. And as you approach someone, you might, if you wish, reach out. Let the back of your hand touch the back of someone else's hand. Just a moment of contact. We're neither taking nor giving anything, we're just contact. Contact. Is this contact permanent or impermanent? Some relationships last a second of touch, some are 60 years. And then they end. If you get stuck in a line, just go somewhere else. Turn. Set yourself free. Touching, touching, touching. You can always drop into your own feet walking. We don't need to lose ourselves in crowds or in groups. We can always drop into the moment of awareness in this body. And we could experiment, if you want, with another step of this. We might reach out as though we're going to shake hands, but don't shake, just touch. And since the mind is capable of anything, we could also add into this a wish. What would you, given the instability of life, what would you wish for this person? And now letting your hands, again, only if you want to go a little more into this, when your hands touch, let your eyes come up and meet their eyes with your wish. And so when you meet these eyes, you know that this person is wishing you well. That's kind of nice, isn't it? Touching, wishing well. And notice it's not hard. It's our natural way. Reaching, touching. What if we developed a habit of going through the world and blessing the people that we see, including ourselves, of course. Noticing how everything is Sabre, Sankhara, Anicca. And this impermanence is the fountain of creativity. It's where everything new comes from. And if any anxiety comes up, it's just anxiety. It's another pattern. Neither mine seeing, wishing well. And if you're sitting, just being aware of sitting and breathing, noticing whatever thoughts are present. If we can just escape from the moment for a moment from that case of mistaken identity, then it's just us. Just myself in this form or myself in that form. What if it's true there really is only one of us here? What if that's really true? Just us. Taking anything from anybody, we're not really giving anybody anything, it's just this wish. Well, so now you always know what to do at a boring cocktail party. You can say, hey, we're all one. Let's shake hands and give each other loving thoughts. Much more fun, don't you think? Better than, oh yes, I do this and I do that and I don't do this and I'm very successful, you know, and I have no bad thoughts. So, you see the connection with this? This whole teaching is about learning to be stable enough in consciousness that we can observe this that we think we are and get a little distance. And with that distance, then we can actually love one another and ourselves, because that's our natural state. The Buddhist teachings are really super clear on that, that when the greed, hatred, and ignorance are suppressed or eliminated, what's left? It's just us. So why would we not be kind to each other? Right? Imagine if every person we looked upon was our beloved. Should we let them pressurize in there a little bit? It's like the bull is in the chute, you know. Well, thank you so much for coming today and for playing and for sitting, and may we all remember who we really are. And a direct transmission from the Buddha. You ready? Sit. This world we are so driven. And don't sit and meditate. Sit and just be. Half an hour a day, 45 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day. I mean, we are 5 standard deviations toward restless and busy from what we're designed for. So, I think they're pressurized enough. Please make a big circle. Thank you, those of you that joined us on the internet. And we'll do our closing ceremony with the kids. Hi. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
I like your sparkles. Ooh, pretty. Create, believe. What's that? I can't read the last one. Dream. We were doing that in here. Hi. Hi, everybody. Did you guys have fun? I guess. You did? You had fun?
Me too.
Yeah. Great. What was fun?
Video games.
Video games. I meant here. Well, let's find a hand to hold. May I? You want to join our hands? You want to hold hands with us? No? Okay. Want to hold hands? There you go. Whew. Remember the rule, never hold hands with strange grown-ups. Good voice, don't you think? Oh, with me, all right. Now, are we going to keep you under control here today, or do you think we're going to have to? We have to put a box over you or something? A box. All right. All right. Let's give the hand on our right a little squeeze. Wish this person well. We all need it. Hi. And the person on your left, give that hand a little squeeze. Wish this person well. You may know nothing about them, but you do know that they really hunger to be loved and loving and safe. And may all beings everywhere on this planet, may all beings be touched by the love in our hearts and remember to remember their true great nature and treat each other well. And we come to that exciting moment. Who's singing?
Me. Me.
You want these two? These two? Okay, you want to come over there? I think you can come help, probably. All right. But share the mic. Let me see if it's working. Okay, it's working. So who's doing? Ready? Want help? 1, 2, 3. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Nicely done. May I? Thank you. All right. Sabre, Sankhara, Anicca. Come sit over here. Come back over here. All component things are impermanent. Do you suppose this candle flame is impermanent? We shall see. You think so? We have to test it, though. Ready? All right. Now I'm going to count. Not yet. We're going to be. Wait. Not yet. Not yet. I'm going to count the usual count, and then everyone in the room gets to help take a deep breath, and everyone at home take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, blow. Phew. Yay. Well, it was impermanent, as was this morning. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Thank you, dear friends out there in internet land. Please join us downstairs for tea and coffee and conversation.